What's up, y'all? We are here at McConnell Springs this morning. This is one of our most beloved city parks. You can kind of see the nature center behind me and then this rain garden here that goes down into this depression. And what we're gonna do today is take a little bobcat excavator and extend that rain garden out all the way up this slope, put a couple more basins in it, and just increase the infiltration capacity, how much volume it can handle, because we are surrounded by quite a few industrial properties on this site. This whole park was actually an ecological restoration project back in the 90s, so it's still getting a lot of stormwater runoff from all the adjacent parking lots, and we're going to help with that a little bit today. I have never shot a video like this before for the company, so this is a little bit of an experiment, see how it goes, try to edit it together. I don't actually have a microphone right now, so I'm sure the audio quality could improve. I do apologize about that. Just using an old GoPro. I'm sure we're gonna run out of battery before we can show you the whole day's work, but I'm gonna try to splice together some content for you that might be useful, might just be a good documentation of this little rain garden extension project. As you can see, we have gone ahead and had utilities marked in the area. We do have one power line that runs just upslope of where we're going to be digging, so we'll be able to stay out of the way of that pretty easily, I think. I don't know if you can hear, but when I got here this morning, there were just birds singing. It was really quiet, peaceful, serene. And now all the properties around here have really woken up. Business has started. You can hear a lot of machinery humming, things backing up, stuff like that. So we really are in an industrial area. Even though this is a city park, we have a lot of development around us and a lot of impacts on the land because of that. So one of the first things I'm going to do is mark out where I want my operator to dig. I want to come up with the new rain garden, bump it right up against the existing one. I have a power line upslope, so we want to avoid that. And then we have this dogwood tree. We don't want to disturb the roots as much as possible, so I will probably put one basin just right here, kind of skip over the dogwood tree, have a little bit of a riffle, and then put another basin beyond that. A brand new can, and it's kind of cold out, so gonna be shaking it for a while, I guess. Our bobcat operator showing up. All right. I'm just gonna get in here and woohoo! All right, yeah. That looks pretty good to me. One unique feature on this site is that we don't just have stormwater kind of running off from adjacent properties. We also have a pipe that's collecting parking lot runoff from an asphalt plant just on the other side upslope of me here. And it's all going down into this basin here, but the pipe is very poorly designed. It was not implemented correctly. It's actually below grade where the outfall is. So that is just backing up, causing a lot of that sediment and nasty stuff from the parking lot next door to collect in this area. And what we're going to try to do is get in here and scratch out a little bit of a forebay, open up where that pipe is draining, and that way maybe there's going to be a little space for water to just collect in a pool, slow down, waste its energy against itself before it continues moving on down the rain garden. Well, the Bobcat blew a cylinder, so we have to stop working now. It's always something. Okay, so because we lost the Bobcat, we're gonna have to stop work right now. I'm still gonna do some things with hand tools for a little bit, but we lost a lot of hydraulic fluid when we blew that cylinder, so we're gonna have to fill back up. And then what I'm hoping is we can switch to the bucket attachment rather than the backhoe attachment and run that once we're filled back up on hydraulic fluid. And we'll just scratch out the rest of this job because this was the deepest part that we had to do today. So the rest of it, I think we're only going about a foot and a half deep. We can just scratch out with the bucket, push it around, and hopefully it'll turn out okay. But there's always some kind of weird, unforeseen circumstance that happens on these jobs. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that other than that is par for the course. So you're really getting sort of the behind the scenes view. Things always go wrong and we just keep digging, placing more rocks, and eventually it works out. So when the Bobcat gets back, I will try to do a little time lapse of that process, scratching out some of the upslope basins from here, and that will probably be about all the battery that we have for today. So hopefully that works out. All right, we have exposed the buried stormwater pipe, and as you can see, there is gross, questionable runoff coming down into our forebay right now. So that's going to make it a little less pleasant to work in here, but everything for the adventure, right? So before we blew our hydraulic on the Bobcat, we dug down in here about 3.5 feet probably just to expose that stormwater pipe and get a little bit of a forebay. And now we're going to try to dress it up with some stone, armor the sides of the forebay where the water is going to be coming out of the pipe, and generally just try to make it look a little bit more presentable than just the hole in the ground that it is. All right, we've got our Bobcat back. We are filled up on hydraulic fluid. We're gonna see if we can scratch out the rest of these basins using just the bucket. Should be fine. Should be fine. Alright, so it's the next day. We're on our way back to the park. Hopefully got all the digging done yesterday, and today I'm just going to lay down some erosion control, put down some rocks, a little bit of gravel, and call it a project. Sit back and wait until it starts raining, and then we can adjust from there. Alright, so as expected, we did run out of battery yesterday and didn't get to film the full site, everything that we did as far as the excavation. So just want to show you that now, walk through the landscape a little bit, explain some things, and then we're just going to continue putting down some erosion control. So basically what we have is a series of 4 linked shallow infiltration basins. In between them are these little mounds called riffles, and altogether you get this undulating pattern as the landscape moves down slope. And this will help slow the water, give it a place to spread out and infiltrate. That's what these basins are, like the one I'm standing in right now. So the water's gonna spread out here and then move on down one riffle after another. One thing that we didn't film yesterday was the highest outfall on this project, which is this 6-inch pipe, which is just at the edge of the property. It's also draining an adjacent parking lot and an industrial site. So it's not gonna run actually unless we get a really heavy rainfall from what we've observed here, but we do wanna make sure that we get a nice deep infiltration basin right here. One reason that we didn't film this yesterday was that it just wasn't visible. We had to excavate this out, much like the other one. So this is going to be interesting. We'll put some rocks in here, make it pretty, but people will actually be able to see this now and learn about rain garden, hydrologic function, and water cycle restoration through those means. The other thing I'm going to do today is open up this pipe here a little more so that we have a little more space just to build up some rock structures, a little armoring. The pipe is kind of coming out of the side of the hill here at a strange angle, so I don't want that flow, all the force, all that volume to be redirected straight into the earth to where it's going to erode away what we've just built. We also have kind of it's pretty steep here, honestly, so I want to try to mitigate that a little bit. And basically just create a situation in here where the water is not going to have a secondary circulation that will erode away this forebay that we've created, but will still have enough capacity to absorb that velocity, that force, and kind of have the water waste that energy against itself before it moves on downslope. Alright, so we've got the erosion control blanket down. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. Frankly, I would have liked to have a little more of it for this job, but it's just there to give us a little bit of a head start as we wait for some grass to get reestablished around the edges, and of course we're going to plant inside the rain garden with lots of deep-rooted native perennials that will hold the soil. But for now, we just have a lot of exposed topsoil, and we try to grade it out as well as possible to where we won't have some big problems with erosion, but those straw blankets are going to help out in the meantime. I'm going to go get some gravel. I'll cut back to that. I'll also grab some lunch, cut back after that. And also, I don't really know what I'm doing as far as these videos. This is really the first project that we've ever tried to do a video like this, that I've ever tried to do a video like this. And so I don't know how it's going to turn out. All this kind of stuff that I'm explaining as I go is very off the cuff, so I'm sure I'm stumbling over my words, repeating myself. None of this is scripted, and the production quality could definitely be better. But it's a first go, and I'd love to hear any feedback that you might have as far as, is this valuable to have these kinds of videos? Do you like accompanying me as I implement these projects on the landscape? Is that useful? Am I not showing enough? Am I showing too much? Yeah, we'll figure this out, and maybe this will be a giant hassle to shoot and edit. It already has been, and I will never do one again because the value just isn't there. But if the value is there and it's fun for you to watch these videos, then I'd be happy to keep making them, because I do think the content is important, and teaching people how to do these things is valuable. Okay, so we got the gravel. You can probably see it in all those trugs there in the back. Didn't want to just shovel it into the bed because it's going to be a nightmare offloading it later. I do still have a little bit more gravel at the house. Can go back and get some if I decide I want more at the site. But this should be pretty good for right now. And actually, I'm pretty tired. This is taking a little longer than expected. It always does. So might call it a day after dumping this gravel, and, well, not dumping it, placing it strategically. And yeah, call it a day, come back tomorrow and do some of the finishing rock work, the large stones, most of which are just going to be for aesthetic value. That'll be all that we really have left on this project, so I'm pretty excited about that. Alright, this next part I'm just going to film on my cell phone because I did not bring the GoPro today. But basically we're just at this local rock pile. I'm going to grab some good looking rocks, throw them in the truck here, and take them up the hill. And this is what we're going to do to build some of the armoring in our infiltration basins. Alright, so I am laughing because the last segment that you saw of this video where I was loading the rocks in the back of my truck, that was filmed in October of 2022. And it is now February of 2024. So we're going on almost a year and a half since we built this project, and I still haven't filmed a conclusion. I guess I have a few things to say about that. The first just being that it is really hard to film a video and explain what you're doing while you're also doing it. I think you'll notice in the video probably I was going great as long as all I had to do was tell my Bobcat operator what to do. I had plenty of time to get the camera and move it around. And then as soon as I started doing all the work myself and having to shovel and move rocks and stuff, it just became, it fell by the wayside. It was not my priority. So that's something I learned. Also, just in October of 2022, when I was doing this, we didn't have a YouTube channel yet, and so there wasn't like a really clear path for what we were trying to do with these videos. Now there is, so it's a little easier for me to produce this content and explain what's going on. But I'm still unconvinced about this style of video, like if I'm actually going to be able to produce these. But if this is useful to you, if you think this is the kind of video that you'd like to watch, that you'd like to see Geomancer continue to document our projects, let me know, send a comment, whatever. And please subscribe as well to the channel. It's a new thing that we're trying out, and it means a lot. It definitely helps. But other than that, before I get too wet out here, obviously this is our McConnell Springs rain garden. And, oh, hold on. I'm gonna wipe off the lens for you there. And you can see right there our forebay is filling up quite nicely, doing its job. And then here is sort of the existing rain garden, and then everything upslope is what we built back then in October of 2022. So we've had time now to see how this adjusts. You can see that these basins, just by looking at kind of the deposition of sediment, looking at the vegetation, the way it's laid down in here, we can tell that these are holding water pretty effectively. And actually just here as I'm sitting and talking to you, our first little basin, our little forebay here, has started to fill up. So I'm willing, let this plane pass. I'm willing, for the sake of the video, I'll hang out and get wet a little more so that we can see just how this flows. Got while we're waiting, this is really interesting. You can see where all the sediment is being trapped, exactly like it's designed to do. We don't want any of that soil to move further down slope. So each one of these basins is acting to slow down that water, drop out anything that it is carrying with it, such as soil that it's eroding from upslope. And then the basins also act as an area where that water can infiltrate. I've probably explained that like 5 times in this video already, so I apologize. That's another issue with doing things off the cuff. But here's our forebay from our other inlet, and you can tell that it fills up pretty quickly. And we have actually got a ton of sediment that's been delivered into that system, so that's filling up pretty quickly, which is fine. That's sort of, we wanted to see what was going to happen. And if it's just the kind of thing where you got to clean it out every few years, that's sort of what it has to be, because it's an issue with an adjacent property that you can't really get the industrial property owners to change too much of what they're doing. So we're just going to do the best that we can with the space that we have. But this is the highest point on McConnell Springs, right adjacent to the parking lots here. So I'm super excited that we've got to build this here. I've actually been asking the park for a few years, probably 2 or 3 years. Every time I come here, I look at this stretch and said, man, you know, your rain gardens really should extend out all the way up slope. So for them to finally give us a chance to do that is really awesome. Love McConnell Springs, love working here, love the staff here, just the faith that they've showed in our ability to come and do this. So yeah, let's look here. We could see that we've started to drain into our first basin. And this, I would like some of this flow to be a little more directed over the riffle, but this is actually fine. The way that this is working, you know, we've put enough rocks in here to where it's kind of armored. And we can always go and adjust this in the future. And most of this is going to be, in the end, defined by plantings. We want to keep planting this out, keep getting deep-rooted perennials in this soil and increase the infiltration capacity. So, pretty nice. This is always really my favorite part of these jobs, is after you build things, you get to come back in the rain, see how they flow. You know, there's always something that changes a little bit. I think there is a school of thought out there that says that we can engineer perfect systems when it comes to, or perfectly balanced systems when it comes to these kind of hydrological systems on the landscape, and that you can just design it one way mathematically and put it in perfectly and you'll never have to change it again. But that's not how, you know, natural systems work. We're always out here kind of adjusting things, watching, oh, there's a little bit of scouring on the side here, there's some erosion, we need to place some more rocks, some more gravel, whatever it may be. But I really love what we've done here. I think this is great. Just by taking this area out of mow, we've done an incredible amount of good. And now that we have some of these pollinators supporting species in here, the plants, the goldenrods, the ironweeds, and so forth, we're just going to keep planting into it year after year, or rather park staff is. They're really the ones who are taking care of this now. And yeah, if you come visit McConnell Springs, check out the rain gardens right here at the entrance next to the parking lot. I think I've been talking too much at this point, but always appreciate everyone's support as we try to basically change the world if we can.